Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Afasti. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and I'm a stroke survivor. And I come here every day, every single day, to share what my experience is in hopes that it might help someone, just one person, be able to manage recovery a little bit easier than I did. So today I want to talk about family dynamics, and I want to talk a little bit about what it was like before I got sober, what it was like after I got sober, and then how that translates over to before and after stroke recovery. So I typically plan out in greater detail what I'm going to say. I mean, for the most part, but I didn't do that so much this time because I really want to share any memories of experiences that came up that I can think of as I sit here. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's a good day. My thinker's having a good day. We'll see. I never know until I start talking how it's going to come out. So I'm going to talk about the role of family in sobriety and stroke recovery. I want to discuss how members of families that seek help for themselves actually can benefit the alcoholic and the patient indirectly. The importance also of tolerance and love and patience, and how all of these principles translated as I went from sobriety into stroke recovery. So what I wanted to share about is, so the reason I'm talking about this topic today is because this happens a lot, but both of my morning meetings this morning talked about family. And this is interesting. One of the meetings, my 7 a.m. meeting, talked about before sobriety, getting so the family before sobriety. And then my 8 a.m. meeting talked about the family afterward. So I was like, that's amazing. I mean, obviously, that's what I'm supposed to talk about today. So at least that's what I heard. Sometimes what I hear is a lot different from what everybody else heard, but that's what I heard today. So there are a lot of folks that I run across in my program, in my network, who have families that, you know, are frustrated, right? Are frustrated and are ready to just give up and walk out and be like, I'm done with you. And that's understandable because we put them through hell. Then there are other folks that I run across whose families were fighting the fight, even when the alcoholic had no hope or desire to get sober. The spouse or the child was fighting the fight before the alcoholic even knew there was a fight to fight or was even willing. And that fascinates me. It really does. My experience has been that my daughter was kind of partially fighting the fight. She wasn't, well, I guess she was fighting the fight. I shouldn't say partially. I mean, she was sharing with people outside of our home that I was an alcoholic, and that I was suffering. And she was probably too young to take any big influential action, but what she did in the home with me was talk about it, confront me. Nobody else was talking about it, but she did. My son shared with me that he wasn't quite aware that I really had a drinking problem. Um, and one thing I heard today was a gentleman shared that his significant other started going to Al-Anon before he wanted to have anything to do with getting sober. And when I was working, I had a staff member who I had shared. I always used to share with my staff that I was an alcoholic. And so I had one of the staff members come to me and share in confidence that it's okay, I'm telling you now, that that her mother is an alcoholic. And so my automatic reaction was to share the tools of the program, share what I know, give what was freely given to me. And that daughter, she was doing the research, like she was seeking help for her mother. And I know that she had gotten frustrated and had gotten to the point where she was fed up and was like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore until you get help. So there's so many spectrums of how our family members react to our alcoholism. And I believe that a lot of that has to do with the ways that some of our personalities carry out when we are drinking. Some people are very angry alcoholics who are abusive. And then there's others who not so much. But then there's some family members who just can't sit back and watch their mother dying, not doing anything about her health and really dying in front of them slowly. So I wanted to talk about really what struck me as beautiful today was this significant other of this gentleman today who talked about how his significant other went to Al-Anon, because that is very much what the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon did. These wives of these men in that day got together and they were fighting the fight as wives of alcoholics. So the Alcoholics Anonymous big book, which is really the kind of the Bible of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's what all these founders sat down and wrote together. And it's very antiquated. There are parts of the book where they talk about the wives. There's a whole chapter that's called The Wives or something like that. And today, you really have to have an open mind and read it for the message that is to be communicated, not specifically that this is all about men and women or anything like that. Some people it's challenging. Some people choose to not do AA because of the way that it comes across, but it's really the message that is saving people's lives. And over time, they're changing the actual words that are being used. So the wives got together and were putting together a program for the families of suffering alcoholics. And the program that they put together is it mirrors the Alcoholics Anonymous program. I went online today and looked at what the 12 steps are, and it looks like they're almost exactly the same. I actually could not pinpoint what was different. Um, and I think it saves a lot of families, keeping them together. I really, I don't have advice. I'm not even going to pretend to. I don't have advice for how people stay together when there's an alcoholic who has just hit rock bottom, because I don't have that perspective. The perspective I have is the fight from the alcoholic's point of view. I am so incredibly grateful that my husband stayed with me through all of that. Um, I don't know how he did. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what his thought process was. I don't know how he had that sort of patience and that tolerance for me. What it comes down to, I have always felt, is just an incredible love that is it's unconditional. I mean, I learned about a year into sobriety that he was actually planning on leaving, is unless I made that up and I heard that, but I thought that's what he had what I had heard early in like a year into sobriety. um but if he had thought that or was going to do that, I never had an idea that that's what he was thinking. Um, so this staff member of mine who came to me and shared with me that her mother is an alcoholic, that mother is my sponsee today. And she made the decision to accept the tools that I provided. I gave my phone number, I gave the information about AA, and it was up to the mother to turn those offerings into action. I couldn't do anything with her mother other than provide a path, provide what was given to me, which were suggestions. What the mother had to do was, I can give my phone number, but she has to pick up the phone and call me. And she did. I think that my a key point here is that that daughter didn't give up. That's how the mother got to the solution. Maybe she would have gotten to the solution in another way, but it's so important to highlight that, because the founder, so the wife who founded Al-Anon, the wives who founded Al-Anon, they went through hell with these men. I mean, hell, abusive language and terrible, like just smashing things, throwing things across the room, just terrible behavior. And I know that there are a lot of spouses and significant others that have to face that kind of behavior. And to stick it out, like, who am I to say yes? Just stay there and take it, I'm not. I wouldn't say that. I feel like and speaking from the heart here, you know, about what I think. And because that's what I do here. But I think that there are times that it's important for that alcoholic to receive the ramifications of continuing to drink. If the spouses or families continue to enable the alcoholic, you know, there's really no repercussions. So the daughter who was my staff member, she did stop talking to her mother. She did. Because she wanted to show her mother that if you're choosing alcohol, you're choosing it over me. And that was an effective decision for their family, because alcoholism, and I've heard this so many times over the years, is a family disease. If one person in the family unit is a suffering alcoholic, the entire family is suffering from alcoholism. And every family unit is unique. All the relationships within that family unit are unique. So the best suggestion that I could possibly give is to expose yourself to others that are going through the same thing. And that's an Al-Anon. It's just like when I go to an AA meeting, everybody in there has a different experience, but we all have the same disease. We all have a very similar reaction to alcohol. If I put one drink in my body, then I can't stop. And it's potentially fatal for me. When family members go to Al-Anon, all the family units are different. Every person in the family unit is different. Each relationship within that family unit is different. But everybody in that room in Al-Anon is dealing with the same thing. A loved one is dying of a fatal disease that they are doing to themselves. You know, it's just terrible to watch somebody dying like this. What I have experienced is other people dying and how their families reacted after the alcoholic was gone. And that there are some that I've witnessed who never stopped fighting, just never stopped fighting, and the alcoholic passed away. And I think it's difficult for the family members to, they feel like there's something they could have done. I mean, my friend that passed away, I guess it's been 2.5 years now. That's amazing. I know his family thinks there's something they could have done, but there isn't. There's nothing they could have done. And yet in the same breath, I'm telling you that this daughter of my sponsee didn't give up and was able to offer her mother a solution. And her mother is sober today. You just, you know, if there was a straight answer, I would make millions off of my podcast, but there's not, you know, there's not. The best thing that we can do is help each other. These Al-Anon and the steps of Al-Anon are meant to help family members cope with their feelings before their alcoholic family member gets sober. And then also, there's a whole journey that starts when the alcoholic puts down the drink. And that's when things shift entirely into a whole new kind of tolerance and love. What I have experienced is this is what I've observed. So, my first year of sobriety, my understanding is that I needed to go to as many meetings as possible. And in doing so, I am homeless, right? I'm meeting all new people. So I am introducing into my life a bunch of other people who are alcoholics, who have suffered, who have been to jail, who have killed people, all kinds of stuff, live in tents, all of that. I'm not home as much, and that's who I'm with. um, that takes a lot of trust, tolerance, love, right at the like right after the family member has already put up with so much that they're about to break. They're like, oh, okay, now they've put down the drink. The answer is here. Everything's going to get better from here. And that is not, it's not as clear cut as that. That's when the work starts. That's when the alcoholic now, instead of picking up the drink, needs to spend that time that they were drinking working, talking, building a network, using the tools of the program, going to meetings. And when the alcoholic puts in all of that work, it can possibly lead to resentments by the family members, because the family members start thinking, why couldn't I do that? Like, why couldn't I help them? Why do all of these drunks, these strangers, why do they get to help my spouse or my significant other? Why couldn't I do it? Why wasn't I smart enough? Why didn't I love you enough? How could I have done it? And the answer is you couldn't have, because you don't know what it's like. And that's real. That's real stuff. The alcoholic needs to be around other alcoholics. Um, I I feel very much what I knew when I left my job was that I have to be around other stroke survivors, because that's where I found my solution as an alcoholic. If I was around other alcoholics, people that know what's happening on the inside, all of that complex stuff, that color wheel of emotions, another alcoholic knows those, can help me put words to them in my own head, so that I can start processing it. And then there's this need for the alcoholic to celebrate successes. So we get a chip every month, right? In the beginning, we get a chip for 24 hours, and then we get a chip every month. And it feels, for me, it just felt like my birthday every month. And I wanted everybody else to celebrate my birthday every month Just like that. Like I could have freaking started getting cupcakes and everything. That's how excited I was that I was able to not drink for an entire 30 days. I could not freaking believe when I was sober for 30 days. I couldn't believe it. Um, and then when I got to 3 months, like the first time I got so like that I went to detox and got sober, I think that I was sober for 2 months and then I drank. I think that's what it was. So the next time I went to detox and I celebrated 3 months, um, I was just like, I am a rising star. That's what I am. I am an amazing human being. Um, so those who don't understand the disease, though, might not really understand that fatal nature that we felt on the inside that brings about this celebratory mindset. We are celebrating being the way that non-alcoholics are without any effort. You know, we are putting forth every ounce of effort we have to get through the day without a drink. You know what I mean? And I'm being melodramatic, but that's what sometimes our family members who are non-alcoholics feel. Like, why is everybody celebrating? Like, let's say it's a brother and sister, right? Why is everybody celebrating Rachel's, 5-month anniversaries? Big deal. She didn't drink, just I can do that. Just don't drink. Don't pick up a drink. Mm-mm. That is not what staying sober is. It is not picking up a drink. It is not just marking our milestones of keeping alcohol out of our hand and out of our gut. It is celebrating our ongoing survival. Um, because that's what it is. That's what it freaking is. It is, I survived. So the family unit, in order to watch this happen, to watch somebody go from, I'm already dead, just, just, I don't want to live another day like this. I can't do it. To go from that and having, you know, we're hearing our alcoholic family members say, I give up on life. And we say, but I love you. I love you. Please, go to AA, do these things. No, I give up on life. And then somehow they're connected with somebody else who's an alcoholic. And then all of a sudden this seed gets planted and they start going to AA, they start having hope. And to watch them go from I give up to I survived, and celebrating something so freaking difficult from our perspective, but from a non-alcoholic's perspective, it's like, so what? Of course you survived. You didn't walk in front of a bus. You know what I mean? So it just requires so much patience from everybody. Everyone is transforming during the sobering process. Everyone. And so these same ideas apply in a very different way. And I don't know if I can articulate it well. It might just be self-explanatory. I don't know. Depends on the listener, but these same principles and processes apply in stroke recovery. Both are illnesses that we didn't ask for. Although the alcoholic appears to have a choice whether to pick up the drink or not, the alcoholic does not feel like they have a choice. It feels like it is a requirement in order to survive. That's how just muddled the mind gets in the later stages of alcoholism. It actually, our cells truly start being that dependent that we need the alcohol in order for our cells to function properly. That's why it's so necessary to go to a hospital in order to detox, because our cells are not getting what they need to survive, because they've created that dependence. But in stroke recovery, same thing. We didn't ask for a stroke to happen, obviously, but there is just these stages of acceptance, frustration, fear, all of that stuff. These are similar feelings that I had when I got sober. And my family members had to watch it. And today, 3 years in, I'm still feeling all of those things. And that same husband of mine is observing a complete shift in my lifestyle and mindset again. My entire way of life is changing again. And he is still here. Not only is he still here, he actually married me after the stroke. So, wow. I mean, I don't know where I found this guy, but I'm pretty lucky. But I see his patience and and an incredible amount of tolerance, because he's so aware that I can't help some of the things that I do now. For example, this is a great example. I think it's a great example. We'll see if it comes out of my mouth as a great example. So earlier today, he came upstairs and asked me, he said, the washing machine was full of water in the bottom of it. Was that something that you did on purpose? Like, he's really careful about how to word things because he doesn't want me to think that he doesn't want me to feel stupid or think that he is scolding me, or that because I'm sensitive like that. Like, I'm trying to learn how to not be so sensitive, but I just am. And it's difficult now also because I make so many mistakes now, mistakes that I never used to make. So when he's coming to me and he's saying the washing machine has water in it, is that something that you did on purpose, or is there something, or maybe there's something wrong with the washing machine? There's just this, I think it takes courage for him to come and talk to me right now, because not that I'm gonna like snap or anything, but he's trying to be so gentle with me, because what my response was, I went down and looked and saw the water in there. And I said, because I'm also learning how to respond gently also. So my response was, it's very possible that I turned it on without anything in the washing machine and left the door open. because that's what happens in our house now. I do things and I'm not totally aware that I'm doing it, or I don't do things and I'm not fully aware that I didn't do it, like turn off the hose or turn off the sink or something like that. So there is this level of patience, tolerance, love, and support that is so similar to how we had to communicate so gently in sobriety, in early sobriety as well. Now, today, I mean, I'm 8 years sober. We have reached a point where here and there we are able to say a joke about me being sober, like that I can't drink something or that uh, I don't know. I can't think of an example, but he has been able to say a joke to me about I don't know, like, oh, you better not drink that, or I can't even think of an example, so I don't want to try because it's actually he has said things that are so funny that I like busted out, like snotted laughing because we can do that now. And the way that we were able to build up that kind of communication is over time, listening to each other, talking about talking about this stuff. Um, talking about he asked me if the water in the washing machine is intentional, and I say it's it's very possible that I could have done that. He only knows to approach me that way because months ago in the kitchen, we were talking about how I had said sometimes I'm not sure if I did something because it was intentional or because it was a mistake. And it can come across to you as a mistake, but it was intentional, you know what I mean? So we talked about that stuff. And so now we know how to approach it. It takes a lot of patience. And I don't want to act like we're the perfect couple or anything like that, but I mean, we are. I don't know. No, I need him. It's as much him as it is me. He is an absolutely incredible human being to undergo this kind of transformation twice. Going from sober or drinking, drunk, hammered me to sober me to disabled, sober me. It's just been such a such a world of difference from where we started almost 20 years ago. Um, so my experience with these significant changes have been invisible. It's all what's changing is on the inside. And as a result, my family sees me changing on the outside. I mean, when I got sober, like my family could see like my skin getting color, I put on weight, um, my hair got thicker, all kinds of stuff. So you are able to start seeing it on the outside after about, I don't know, it happens pretty quick. Um, but I believe that the same thing happened to me in stroke recovery because I was the worse I feel, the more damaged I feel on the inside, the more damaged I look on the outside. Um, and that's why I sought help from all of these different resources, from a psychiatrist, from support groups, doctors, all of that stuff. And I had to seek that help in order to start changing on the inside so that it was more reflective on the outside. And when I do that, I actually have my family. I mean, my daughter, the last time she was here, she was like, "You look really good." And that's nice to hear. It is. But it's not just me who needs to seek help when we're struggling as a family unit. I need my kids to seek help if they're suffering. I need my husband to seek help if he's suffering. If he doesn't know how to communicate with me, then I would encourage our spouses and significant others to go to caregivers support groups. Or if your family member is an alcoholic, Al-Anon is a definite. These families that are seeking knowledge in order to support stroke recovery and alcoholism can really create a more conducive home environment if they are taking care of themselves, right? So learn about the condition that your family member has, and going to these support groups and stuff is a way of getting a better grasp on what the challenges are. Going to Al-Anon, you're able to learn why the alcoholic needs to or wants to celebrate every freaking month, why it's important, and why as after a year that kind of starts to go away a little bit. I mean, we're still celebrating, but we don't need that recognition as much. Going to stroke caregiver groups, you can learn more about the survivors' frustrations and mood swings. My husband has learned a lot about my cognitive changes. And I think that's how he has learned how to practice tolerance with me and be able to show love that can alleviate my stress. Because, oh man, I will never forget this. When we went to one of my many appointments, we went to my vision therapist. And this was back when I couldn't even look at my phones, and I was on my phone and I was on voiceover. And we showed up at the vision therapist office, and so he drops me off. He goes and works somewhere. And so I walk over to the building and try to go in, and the building is locked. And I'm like, oh no, what is the problem? So I had to no, I didn't turn my phone on. I think I asked it when I asked it for each day, like what my appointments were for each day. And I found out that the vision therapist appointment was the next day. It wasn't the same day that I had actually thought it was. It was extremely difficult for me to manage all of these appointments in the beginning because I had cognitive problems. I had a terrible memory. I couldn't remember any. It wasn't just not being able to remember something, but if somebody would tell me something, I couldn't. You have to tell me numerous times for my brain to get it. And I still have that problem. So if somebody gave me an appointment time, I would either not write it down or I would write it down wrong. Or there were so many problems with that whole thing. So we got to the point now where he writes down all of my appointments, and so do I, because I couldn't manage them by myself. And that's just, that's one of the reasons why I'm on disability, because I can't do something so simple as to manage a schedule on my own. So, anyway, I got in the car after this appointment that I got wrong, and I said, "It's tomorrow." I said, "I'm so sorry." But he said, "Okay, we'll come back tomorrow." That was it. He said, "Okay, we'll come back tomorrow." And he said it as if it meant absolutely no inconvenience to him. And I sat in the car and cried on the way home because I was so frustrated that my brain couldn't do what it used to be able to do. And since then, we've learned how to manage it. We've learned how to adapt. And I couldn't do that without him. Without him, I was crying. With him, we just got in the car and came back tomorrow. So it really is a world of difference to the survivor or and the alcoholic. How much patience our family members have for us. Again, I know that there are family members who have been abused by the alcoholic. Heck, I know that there are family members who are being abused by stroke survivors, because there are some stroke survivors who have the part of their brain damaged that affects their ability to control their anger and emotions. And that's just devastating. I did go to a stroke survivor support group, and a wife came in and she was just beside herself. She didn't know what to do. It had been I maybe almost a year. She said, "I just can't do it anymore." Um, so we tried to give the encouragement, give her the resources that she needed. Unfortunately, I haven't gone back to that stroke support group because it keeps not being at a good time for me, or I forget. So I'm not sure how she's doing, but I most certainly will see if I might be able to ask somebody in the network. That would be interesting to find out if she came back, if things got better, that kind of thing. So, wow. Sobriety and stroke recovery are family things. They're processes, they are illnesses, they are things that families go through together. And the constant continued support for the patient, the survivor, the alcoholic are so critical, and it requires a lifelong commitment. It does. It's a lifelong commitment. And just as much as the survivor, the alcoholic has to make a lifelong commitment, so does the family member. And that can't be ignored. Our spouses, our kids, they need to make a lifelong commitment to deal with their loved one, to deal with them with tolerance and love. Um, educate themselves on celebrating progress and find a way to care for themselves so that they can maintain that ongoing support. Seek help for themselves. And by doing all these things, families can create a nurturing environment for everyone because everyone involved needs to heal and grow. So that's all I have for you today. So I appreciate you joining me. I feel like good stuff came out. I feel like we can put a thumbs up on this one, and maybe you can too. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Thanks for joining me today,